Okay, enough of that. As much as I love Buster Poindexter, we are back. And part two of today's stream is going to be all about stores and the idea of using stores to handle data in Svelte. I'm not terribly familiar with it, if you can hear in my voice, and that is why we are going to do a stream about it, because I want to learn, because I want to build some Svelte apps that better handle client-side data. So, if you're just joining me now, we are previous part of the stream. I went in and built a more complex Svelte server example. I highly recommend you catch that video when it comes out. Did you know that we have a YouTube channel, glitch.com? You should absolutely check it out. Every week, I'm taking streams and publishing videos from my previous streams. A subscription is always appreciated, and you can go there to catch, like I said, previous streams and learn along with me. So if you missed the first half of this stream, it'll be up there next week, and I'll be talking about building a intermediate Svelte.js example incorporating an Express server. We're actually going to rewind and go back to our Svelte.js template today for part 3 of Svelte, because I want to learn about writable stores and using stores for data management in a Svelte app. So, I'm going to clean up after myself from the previous part, and we are going to jump right into it. Except for this time, I'm going to remember to remix my project. So, I'm going to remix this project. To start, I'm going to drop a link to the new project in channel. I highly recommend you come on with me and hop into the channel. Hop into the app with me, that is. Because if you hop into the app with me, you can click around the code and ask questions. None of your business. Thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, so we are now in the melodic ocean. A nice cooling name for a hot day. Smooth and melodious, as we take a look at using Svelte stores to associate some data with your application. Let's do it. I actually don't know how stores work, so we're going to actually do a little bit of reading and learning. As according to the Svelte documentation, not all application state belongs in your application's component hierarchy. I learned this in the part 1 stream when I was trying to build a crossword puzzle. Sometimes you have values and you be accessed by multiple unrelated components or by a regular JS module. In Svelte, we do this with stores. A store is simply an object with a subscribe method that allows interested parties to be notified whenever they store value changes. An app.svelte count is a store, and we're setting count value in the subscribe block. So that's this example code here. They have a stores.js. Let's take a look at what that is. They're saying a writable. They have a really, really basic one here, just a writable store that says count. They have a resetter. The resetter resets the count. Well, that's not in the code yet. I think we'll be learning that. Incrementer, decrementer. I see this is all very, very basic code. If we go to the incrementer, we could, I see. So it takes a function that takes the object and a thing that updates it. So count.update. And then reset. Okay. Very, very simple. Let's take a look at auto subscriptions. There's a subtle bug. The unsubscribe function never gets called. If this component was instantiated and destroyed many times, we'd have a memory leak on our hands. We sure would. One way to fix this is using on-destroy lifecycle hooks. So if the component gets the boilerplatey, especially if your component describes multiple stores. It does, Phil. Thank you for noticing. Svelte has a trick up its sleeve. You can represent store value by prefixing the store name with $. That's interesting. So here's a little bit of compiler magic. We'll allow it. Auto subscription only works with store variables that are declared or imported at the top level scope of a component. You're not limited to using count inside the markup either. You can use it anywhere in the script as well, such as in event handlers or reactive declarations. Okay. That's interesting. Any name beginning with $ is assumed to refer to a store value. It's a reserved character in Svelte projects. Good to know. Not all stores should be writable by whoever has reference. You may have a store representing mouse position or user's geolocation. It doesn't make sense to be able to set them. They're internally readable stores. So in this example, we have stores.js. Okay, and that is internally readable. Implementation goes there. Yeah, time. Good example. Creating a stores example is based on the value of one or more stores with derived. Building our previous example creates a store that derives the time the page has been open. So what's happening here is this is derived from time. It's possible to derive a store from multiple inputs and explicitly set a value instead of returning it, which is useful for deriving values asynchronously. Sure. And then, as long as an object correctly implements subscribe, it is a store. Beyond that, anything goes. It's very easy, therefore, to create custom stores with domain-specific logic. The count store from our earlier example could include increment, decrement, and reset methods, avoiding exposing set and update. So this is really interesting to me, these custom stores. This is the thing where this gets really appealing, is we have this idea of const subscribe, set, and update. And so this is a custom one because it returns a subscribe function. And set, and then update. Okay. I know we're just reading. We're going to get interesting really quick here. If a store is writable, you can bind it to its value just like combine to local component state. There's a writable store name and derived store greeting. Update input element, changing the input value and now update name and all of its dependents. Oh, cool. So two-way binding. I like that. Assign directly to store variables inside a component, add a button element, name plus equals bang is equivalent to set name plus bar. Oh, okay. Okay, this is getting real fancy. Tweening those values. Okay, but now we're in motion. So we are outside of stores. That was a lot of information. That was not much time. Let's get right into it and take a look at how to add a store to our project. I think the best way to do this is to have a form, and I want to do a really basic CRUD app, I think. So we're going to do not to do. We'll do, I don't know, not to do's. I don't know. Recipes. That's another terrible example. If anyone has any ideas for what sort of things we can create a little create, read, update, delete thing for, let me know. Because I want to figure out the right way to make these things useful. But it sounds like we're going to need a writable store. So we're going to jump into understand stores a little. We're going to take a look at the this part, wherever stores appears in here, if it does. Stores, cool. Take a look at the API docs and use those from here out. So it sounds like we're going to need a store. A list of things we should never do. Okay, done. To don'ts. This is our to don'ts app. P. Cardell, you're a gem. Thank you much. Looks like first thing we need to do is make some stores. So we're going to say stores.js. I meant to put that in my source directory, so I'm just going to move that to the source directory. Cool, there we go. And store, and that is going to give us a default store module exports functions for creating stores. Cool. So here's a basic writable store. Let's make a basic store here. And this one's going to be called to don'ts. Const to don'ts. It's a writable, and it starts off with an empty list. And then the rest of this goes elsewhere, as far as I can tell. I guess we need to... what am I missing here? There was an example of customs in the tutorial. I'm going to jump back to that custom because I feel like we're going to need it. So we are going to jump to that custom store, and we're going to work from that because that seemed the most like what we needed. There. This one. Cool. So this idea of create count, we're just gonna, I don't know if we're gonna say create, oh, they say export count equals create count. It's a little funky, but I get it. Doing a little learning here. Const subscribe equals writable 0. What happens when you breeze through these things very quickly? Writable store, count from stores is just a basic thing. Okay, it could not be simpler. And then what does it have me do when I update things? Increment count.update. Okay. We're gonna go to that. We're gonna say, let's start with the simplest possible thing. Cool. Here's our list of to-don'ts. This is no longer a hello world, it is. Never do these. Incrementer imports count from stores. Okay, and the way that worked was count.update. Cool. And we want to use auto subscriptions in our client. So we say, just notice that this doesn't mention. Oh, here it is. It's down here. So, oh, you just reference it with $. Okay, so we need import to don'ts from. These are very simple, and I think they're so simple that I'm tripping myself up, which I think is super funny. And then we're going to have a UL. Almost as difficult as literally typing the word to don't. We'll leave it just like this. Right now we're going to say cool. So our to don'ts have nothing in them. We're going to have a button. The button is going to be put this in your to-do MVC and smoke it. Never do these. And then we need a button. We have an error and a warning. Gosh, so much. So many errors and warnings. What's going on down here? Expected each, if, or await. I'm going to guess that's a syntax bug. Add to don't is not defined. I agree. Okay, now we're getting into the fun stuff. We're going to add another object to the list. The way we're going to do that is we're going to use spread notation, because I think spread notation is the appropriate fancy way to do things these days. We're going to say list and a new to don't, which is going to have a name. Right now we're going to give it an example name. I hit this button. Ooh, nothing happens. Do I want update or do I want set? Maybe I have it backwards. Do I have a bug in my client? Let's take a look at my client side code console. I do. O.update is not... O.update, not a function. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't use $, in that situation. Let me take a look. Bouncing back to the API docs. We're having all kinds of fun today. Today's session is all about learning. By the end of this, we're going to understand these, and that's the best part. Take a look at that nice advanced custom stores example. Aha, look, the $, reference is not happening here. So remove that $, reference. It only happens in the template area. Okay, that looks good. I realized I didn't make this a... When this reloads, we're going to have a nice, okay, thing to never do, thing to never do, thing to never do, thing to never do. Cool. Okay, this already feels kind of way better. So I'm going to switch my console to just match over here. My favorite silly console trick. We're going to just make things a little more compact on screen right now. It's getting a little jumbled. Cool. So this is nice. What if our to don't was not just an li, but in fact a to don't object? We're going to use the spread operation, which I love a lot, making it possible to pass all of the properties in. We're going to be broken temporarily as we create a new component. That component needs export let name. Cool. And then we need to render it. And there's the we no longer need the dot notation because it's a component. So we just say name. Once this is done building and is satisfied, what did it get mad about? To don't is not defined. Didn't import it yet. From to don't uses the wrong object. Oh, and of course it's a Svelte component, so you don't need to unpack it using destructuring. It is the default export. Cool, and it is undefined. Export let name. App.svelte. I wonder why that's not working. It says the name is undefined. I wonder if I say to don't See if this reloads. Once it reloads, take a look. And that works. Okay, weird. I'll have to figure out why the spread. Oh, because I'm incompetent. I think I do this every time. Curly brace, dot, 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 to don't. Cool. To do spread passing, you need to still wrap it in curly braces, is the reason. So this will take all of the properties of to don't and apply them as props to the to don't component. And now it works. So it's taking name and automatically passing name through. Right, so we can add another thing, which is a status that says whether you've never done it, because as long as you've never done it, it's done. And if it's undone, as long as you've never done it, once you've never done it, you can mark it as never done. So we'll say class class never equals. And we can use some styling on that. We'll say a style, and if we have a never text declaration So now we need a way to mark our to don't as never done. We also need our to don't also needs a key. It doesn't know where it is, right? We don't have the ability to say, hey, remove me or anything like that. So our to don't needs an ID of some ilk. We're gonna actually grab it right from here. Say I, which will, and then for rendering convenience, we're also going to say, believe I can say I. Might be yelling me for that. It's gonna be yelling me for that. Not worried about it. Cool. So now to don'ts have an ID. We should make it so these are editable. Right now we can't edit them. I want to make them editable. So we're going to need to our store. We want to import it from the store. So we want to say import from and we can say tab index is 0. We can actually tab through these, so now we can get focus on them. We have an error right now. Thing to never do, thing to never do. I can tab through them. The reason I want to tab through them is because I want to say on focus set editable. On blur, and edit. Let's actually say start edit, end edit. We want functions for this. I maybe even be able to say let's try this. What I want to be able to do is put it in an editable mode when it's focused, and when it's not focused, take it out of editable mode. I think that's pretty basic. In editable mode, you'll see what that looks like. I have a hunch for what I want that to look like. untab, structured. Cool. So now we can say if editable, right? And we can say input value else just the name. So now, once this compiles, assuming this compiles, ooh, there's an error. I hate that it says it's ready, and then it also says it's right. So there's an unanswered question right now, which is that whether the event system of Svelte can handle focus events the same way it handles everything else in. Let's find out. So don't click. And of course, yep, that's what I thought. So we're gonna mess with this a little bit and say false. We're gonna make a span for the name. Maybe you make it a div. Make these see what happens here. This is just one of those things that's always tricky to get right. And that maybe the web platform should make easier. Okay. Cool, that works. So now we wanted to go look up binding because when we're editing them, I want to be able to actually be able to save the edit. So we are going to look up binding. Binding, block level element bindings, component bindings. Let's say when the input is done, we can say on change update name. Make a function called update name. I'm probably making a hash of things, so I'm having a nice time. So don'ts dot update. And we're gonna do then another nice splicey thing. So this time we're gonna say list.slice 0 ID -1. Can never remember. We'll figure it out. Name never done. ID ID. Let's see if I got that right. It'll be clear very quickly if I didn't. I didn't, seeing as things went missing. Oh yeah, that would be an error. That'd be a bug, eh? Okay, try that one more time. I've duplicated things, which means I've done something wrong. Let's try it again. Well, we're not duplicating things anymore. So let's... That's somewhat useful. Let's take a look at what's going on here. I think we're real close now. Change. See, we have a change event here. Ah, I know what I want to do. I'm going to go learn how to do that value binding. Binding related elements. Nope, bind value. That's the one. Bind colon value equals name. I need. So I can say and so this is actually permabound to the name of this to don't, which means that once it builds, toggle on sleep skip to the wind. What is it? Mess with Jim? What's the last one? I can't remember. I can type in here. Interesting. Ooh, and that exploded. Maybe I did something very bad there. It worked. Okay, so check it out. Add to don't, add to don't, add to don't, add to don't. Go to think to never do, make it 1. Go over here, make this 2, 4, 10. Spit into the wind. Cool. Editable to don'ts. I love that. I think that makes me very happy. Nah, you can mess with me. It's fine. But we don't have editable to don'ts. I like that a lot. And that means that now we can add other features to this. Right? We can have that nice. Let's start making these pretty. Let's say list style type none. And then the last thing I need here. I want okay. So I've just done a little bit of the oops, three-story building. There we go. So I've now done a little bit of styling. See, these are nice now full width things. Still not auto-focusing. I'll get there. But I can edit it. Cool. I now can add buttons because I've added spots for them. So actually this first thing is going to be input type equals, and it's going to be whether it's done or not. So we're going to say input type checkbox, bind checked, never done. Is that correct? Yeah. So now it's got a checkbox at the end. If I check it, So you can see, I need to do that. But you can see that checking it did not find the never done value. So we'll take a look to see if there's a way to get that done. I inspect this as never being applied as a class. It is. So what's missing? Maybe this is not how you do strike through. How do you do CSS strike through? Do you literally have to use S? Is that true? Do you literally have to use like S? I could have sworn there was a style for it. Well, I can use strike. I'm happy to do it. It's just going to be if it's also kind of cool because it means if it's never done, if you said you have never done it, then you can't change it anymore, which makes sense in a weird way. Yeah, for maybe it's strike. Well, it's definitely going to work now because I've switched to using a strike through. So we're just going to leave that for the time being. That's easy enough. Okay, so now we have a checkbox for whether you've never done it. If you, and if you, oh, it's still rebuilding. Had a whole bunch of these. You can check them, mark them as never done. If you do that, you can't edit them. But if you do, you can. I like that. And then you can say, hey, never done. And lastly, I want to add delete buttons. I want trash can. Let's try trash can. We're going to put a function for delete. This one's going to be real interesting because we're going to... Delete's going to be an interesting button because if you click delete, the component disappears. Which is pretty out there. Interesting that the emoji did not render. That's very interesting. I don't know if you can see that. Is that because of this? I have an error in my logs, but it's rebuilding. Let's see what happens. Still an error in my logs. What'd I break? Unexpected key. Right, delete. Delete's a magic word. That's why. We're gonna say UL. Just zazz this up a little bit, like so. Cool, there's our trash cans. Does anyone know how to make a checkbox bigger? I'll look it up in a second. But I want to make these checkboxes bigger. I'm not sure if you can do that natively. I can never... Styling with checkboxes is like really the worst. It's like really the worst. Okay, want to make it so when I click the trash can button, they delete. That's interesting that my UL didn't, maybe it's padding 0. Also can never remember whether ULs are indented because of padding or margins. While that's thinking, let's go write the code for delete. Like I said, I think this is going to be really interesting. To don'ts. Right? And this one is going to be almost exactly the same, except for I just don't replace myself. I remove myself. Like so. It's effectively a splice. But by doing a reassignment like this, I trigger re-render everywhere I need to. Right? So cool. So, and then if I hit delete, did I delete the right one? Did. Cool. Ooh, what I'm learning is that nothing I did here is having any effect whatsoever. I don't know if you can see that. But this UL, maybe my width is just way too wide. That's what it was. I could say li plus li, I think. No, somewhere in here I want to make it so if I want to be able to style myself. I like the idea of saying solid, just like a tasteful. Want to wrap my app up. Kiss my grits to do MVC. This is a lot of fun. Do a scale on the checkbox. That's a good idea, B. Cardell. I'm going to do that. Like where your head's at. Wonder if that's going to be hideous. We'll find out. So chunky. So chunky. That was interesting. I don't know if you saw that, but I do have a bug. Look at that. You see that? I have a bug again? Let's see. I'm deleting the wrong one. That worked. Why would that be? Gonna have to really quickly do a debug statement. I know we're kind of coming low on time, but I want to understand this bug. So right now we're just going to do a add a bit of debugging information. Cause I want to see that. I want to see that. It's really vexing. I want to see that. Maybe my IDs, or maybe ID does not behave the way I think it does. That's what I'm learning. So let's learn that real quick. Okay, gonna re-render. So Bcardell was saying what happened was I'm seeing a bug where the thing I'm clicking delete on is not always the one that's getting deleted, which tells me that my understanding of how this works is not my understanding of how my splicing is working is not exactly correct. So right now I'm clicking delete on 2, and 2, the new 2, there's a new 2. So let's actually number them. Let's give this one a 2. Now if I delete it, that stayed. But now let me show you this. Right? I mark this as done. If you can see that, right? If I delete it, it seems fine. What is going on? I saw something weird. I don't know if anyone else saw it. So let me just make this 3. I'm just going to make a bunch of edits. Right? So we've made all these edits. I delete. I don't know. Could have sworn I was deleting the wrong one. Yeah, there we go. Did you see the bug? There it was. There it was. There was the bug. Right? This one's done, but when I delete it, the next one's done. And I delete it, the next one's done. It has to do with the way these indexes are working, but it's... Maybe my delete is just bad. Maybe I'm incompetent. Maybe this is not correct. Log. I'm gonna guess that when I'm doing something wrong in my slicing. The index is not constant. They get reassigned, but they're also getting re-rendered. That makes sense. So right now, so yes, 3 becomes the new 2, and I actually think that's intentional. These aren't IDs, they're index positions, but something funky is happening with the way they're getting cleaned up, which makes me think that I am doing something wrong. Right. I need to put this in the function. Just temporarily. I know it's a hot mess. We're so close to this working well. We're so close to this working well. I just want to get the last little thing done. Right, I need to close my block. I have a hunch of what's going on here. So, thing to never do, thing to never do, thing to never do. Sure. I delete this one, and the thing that's logged should not contain it. It should have just 2 items. And it does only have 2 items. And then the second thing, I think, is probably that I'm saying ID plus 1. I might be saying ID plus 2. But we're going to just see what comes out of this. I really didn't want to have to create and track IDs. I didn't, so I'm just trying to avoid it. So this should log a list of 2 things and a list of 3 things, but not a list of 2 things and a list of 4 things. list of 2 things and a list of 3 things, and they didn't have... Tell you what, this stuff is confusing. Okay. I didn't want to have to create a persistent ID. That's sad. Okay. Bummer. Let's put a persistent ID on this. It's annoying that the app would be creating the persistent ID, but... and then we don't pass this. But we do now say use to-do.id as a key. And then we do say index equals, I think I still want to pass. I still want to pass the index and do stuff with it. We're going to say ID index. I think I still want to do this stuff with index, and we'll see if I'm right. I know that sounds like why just create an ID to ignore it, but what a goof. To do? What's a to do? This isn't a to do app. It's a to don't app. I'm also going to instantiate all these other things that I never actually instantiated. And so it's weird that this stuff lives in the app. This stuff should live in the store, but we're running out of time, so we're going to put it in the app. Much better. By running a key, Svelte is also rendering things more correctly. So even though I'm not using any of this, by providing the key, the key lets me... It's weird. It's hard to explain. But by having an actual like ID, even though having an ID, even though I'm not using it for anything, Svelte knows how to render lists better and which elements were removed and which were added. Is really what's going on. So I'm going to just real quick demonstrate. Oh, you're right. I do say to-do ID. Oh, what's a to-do ID? What are to-dos? This isn't a to-do app. It's a to-don't app. Thank you. Thank you, Sir PhysX. You're one of the heroes of the stream. Okay, so now I'm adding these, and you're going to see that one of the numberings is going to stay stable and one of them isn't. So I can delete the thing with the ID, right? It's going to be the thing with the ID of 3 and the index of 3, and then all the indexes are going to shift. Yes. Fantastic. This means I can do a relatively efficient... the reason I don't want to do that is because right now I'm taking advantage of knowing the array position. Because if I know the array position, it lets me do these updates much more easily. I don't have to do like a search. I know exactly where in the array I already am. Laziness. The answer you're looking for is laziness. Clean that up. I don't need those numbers. The numbers were just there for debugging purposes. And I feel pretty happy about this. And so yeah, this is great for keeping track of things to never do. And once you know that you've never done them, you can mark them as never done. And then you can remove them from your list. Oh, I just realized what the other bug was. This was one other bug. Good other bug. The other bug is when I change what I changed checked to never done, I'm not updating my object. I can change update name to update because I need to call it when both checked and never done is changes. And then we'll have the ultimate to don't app. Where I can check two things. They're flying around, I don't know why. I did a bad thing. I broke it. I already broke it. That took no time whatsoever. I'm so fast at ruining everything. I was like, I'm finished. Let's go home. And then my last change blows everything up. As you can see, checking things should not make them stop working, in my experience. And I should probably stop logging all of this nonsense. This is why we can't have nice things, Potch. See that? I broke it right at the end. Oh my god, I can't believe I broke it at the literal end. Oh. What is going on? Oh. I'm very dumb, folks. I'm very dumb. How did I break it at the end of the stream? Like, this is working perfectly. And then, of course, no, it's not. Let's try that. It's a disaster. It was working fine, and I made one change, and it's a complete disaster. This was fun. Thanks, everyone. It's too hot. I'm gonna put this back the way it was. I know it's still buggy, but we're done for today. It's too hot to be debugging this at the end of the stream. Are you still using the idea like it was an index? No. No, it doesn't look like it. It's all in terms of index. Ah, so dumb. We're just gonna put it back, and we're all gonna. I'll figure out why this isn't working, and I'll get it working before I share this out. But we're all just gonna take away from this stream that like this was working fine, and we're all just gonna tiptoe right back out of the stream and not worry ourselves with whether. Not worry ourselves too much about what's going on here, shall we? This is why you don't only give yourself an hour to build an application. This was really fun. I feel like I understand the store portion of the Svelte API way better. Hopefully, if you were watching along, you also do. And we're all going to agree that this is working perfectly and nothing is wrong. So we're going to say, make one last change right at the end of your stream. I think that's probably like a really solid thing to never do. And with that, we're wrapped up for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you can tune into both parts. They'll be up in the next couple weeks on YouTube. If you didn't, once again, that was it's glitch.com is the channel on YouTube. So hope you check us out. Thanks for joining me every week. I'm gonna go cool off. I hope you stay cool and have a great week. Thanks for watching.